So many trades, a coach fired. It's been a dramatic December through just 11 days. We're going to talk about it all coming up on PHNX Hockey.
And Petey. Woo!
Hello and happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Hockey podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah here with PD. We got Shane behind the Mac today. We got Charles in the chat. What's
Charles
up, Charles? PD, how are you doing? I
I'm
feel
fine.
like you came in with some grumpy energy
I'm
today.
fine. I don't know what it is today on this Wednesday. I 2 Wednesdays ago, it was a Friday. So Wednesday was a Friday. Today is this Wednesday is a Monday.
Oh,
I'm
got a
coming
case
to
of
a
the
serious
Mondays?
Monday. I got a case of the Mondays. Because serious Monday vibes
that
today.
for a callback.
You don't? Yeah, you know that one because we made you watch it. A little grumpy today, and I don't. I think it always stems back to when I come in to do this. We talk about PHNX Hockey is we don't have a team, and I think that is the core where every one of these shows starts from. Even though we expand into fun as we go along.
Yeah.
I promise there will be fun and I will turn into happy PD. Right now, a little grumpy.
That's fair. So,
Gotta
you know,
work on it.
it's also the end of the year, so you start to get reflective.
Holidays and
Well, the holidays, but like for me, as the end of the year approaches, I start to get reflective and I'm kind of feeling like, oh my God, like we're leaving the year and going into a new one without a team. Like all these little milestone moments are tough, but we can move on from that, even though I'm wearing my Coyote sweater today.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I totally
I will not let
relate
it
to
go.
that, Leah. But then again, it starts to not only reflect, then you go, where the hell am I? And so that means these January resolutions.
Where am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
Why are we getting so deep?
Why?
It's coming. So
Why
January
am I?
resolution. I'm gonna have a whole show on my January resolutions. I just decided it right now because I'm a mess. I'm a mess.
We need to
I haven't
take
had a haircut in 3 months, and you know what? I don't care. Don't care. I gave up. I just gave up.
We need to take back therapy to a whole other level. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we're not talking about that today.
No,
we are going to
we're
talk about all of the major trades that have gone down in the NHL over the last week. We were recording a podcast when Jacob Trouba got traded. So now that the dust has settled, we'll give some more thoughts on that. We'll talk about the big goalie swap between San Jose and Colorado. Talk about Luke Richardson. We haven't even talked about that getting fired by the Blackhawks. We're going to talk about Phoenix and Tempe and land, because this is the PHNX land development podcast. And then, of course, we'll check in on ASU and Tucson. But before we get to all of that, we need to address something.
Mm-hmm.
Because our friends over at DLLS, and I would consider them friends. I would.
You used to.
Yeah. I did consider them friends.
Yes.
So the ASU, the Sun Devils, were in Texas for the Big 12 championship, and our ASU beat, Anthony Totri, Eric Ruby, and Kyle Cooper were all out there. And DLS kindly allowed us to use their studio. And, you know, Totri and Eric and Kyle decided to drink some whiskey that was in the DLLS office.
With permission.
And then DLLS stars addressed that. And somehow this show, the Coyotes fan base, took a shot. So if you missed it, here's the video.
That's a Texas shot right there.
By the way, speaking of Herman Marshall, we were informed that our friends from PHNX, the Phoenix branch of ALLCITY Network, who cover Arizona State University, were using our studios over the weekend, Saturday, because ASU was playing in the Big 12 championship game, correct? At
Is this
AT&T Stadium.
where somebody commandeered our bottle?
I think with permission from our GM.
Yeah, there the culprits are.
There they are. Look at that PHNX in our podcast studio enjoying our Herman Marshall.
We're going to get them back somehow.
And probably wearing Shady Rays too. I hope they are. Because apparently they go through not only
Well,
the
you
bottle.
notice in that picture there's only one guy wearing them there too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort
See,
of a-
the other
sort
guy
of a-
doesn't know how to get
Sort
him
of a
either.
trend, isn't
Yeah.
it? Well, guess
Look
what?
at Dirk laughing at him too.
Those are that at least the cowboy hat. That's part of the set in there. So do you think they were just going around trying different hats?
I don't know.
By the time they got through halfway the bottle,
We'll get him back next road trip when we go out when the Stars play.
Next
the
one will be
Coyotes.
our first
Oh
one.
wait, the Coyotes don't
that's just
exist
not
anymore.
nice. Man, you just made a Coyotes joke. That's cutting deep, John. You may have to issue an
They
apology for
drank a
that.
full bottle of our Herman Marshall.
Well, I guess we just got to go to
With
Utah
permission.
then, right?
Yeah, we go to Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, Salt Lake City. Send us to Utah. We'll go hang out with Petey, even though he's in Arizona.
I
There's a
mean,
lot to unwrap there. There's a lot going on.
John, come on.
John.
At least, like Owen, I think he did his best to try and calm that situation down. John, come on.
Yeah, I will say this about John. I like
I
John,
love John.
I think, but
I think.
to choose it's always like I'm the skinny guy with glasses. So who do you think got picked on the most? Well, me, because it's easy. You don't pick on the big tough guy like Derek. You pick on me, the skinny guy with glasses. That's this. You're picking on the hockey program in Arizona because why? Low hanging fruit, easy to do. That was a cheap shot. If you want to deliver a little bit of slander and hate to the two guys that stole, you're like, well, they didn't steal it, but to them, all in. Like they defaced the studio too. You saw that on their whiteboard.
Oh yeah, they wrote like Arizona
ASU
State
State,
is
yeah.
Big 12.
So I get
champion.
it, but don't throw the hockey. Like that's a Quebec hockey fan mentality. Don't like it, John. Be better.
Also, get a better producer cam. Where'd you get that? The dollar store? God, just hanging out in the middle of the screen like this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, look at me. I'm part of the show. Come on, John.
Be better, John.
Come on.
Be better, John.
Oh, it was just so funny because I was watching it and I was laughing. Like, I think it was funny that they were giving a hard time to the ASU. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's all in
It's-
good fun. And then, like, John just from
right
the
to the
top
hockey.
ropes. I was like, that's so mean.
Yeah, right the hockey club.
Oh,
But we love
man.
them.
No, I really
It's a-
do.
it's a
I
fun
just
show.
we had to respond. We can't
Yes.
let that
Yeah,
happen.
it's
Thanks
the
for
hockey way.
Thanks for letting us use your studio space for
Yes.
a whole
Yeah.
week.
For a whole week, including
thank you.
hosting Jesse too.
And
This week.
Jesse
Yeah.
would wear a coat. Like he had a sport coat on.
Yeah, looking sharp.
The
I mean,
JCPenney
having-
Junior Men collection.
Oh my
Wow. Having Totri and Eric in there is bad. Having Jesse in there is the worst thing ever. So I appreciate them for
Yeah.
hosting him because he's a nasty guy.
He
Yeah, he can't be trusted
He
in
is
a
hard to
space like
deal
that. All right, well, let's move on and talk hockey. And this one has to do with our other sister station, DNVR Avalanche. They
Go read
did.
Jesse's articles, by the way.
Yeah, they did an emergency pod when this went down, but we're going to talk about the big trade this week between the Colorado Avalanche and the San Jose Sharks. The Avs traded Alexandar Georgiev. Don't forget, he's an NHL All-Star.
All-Star.
Alexandar Georgiev,
Georgiev.
who this season has 18 games played, 8 wins, a 3.38 goals against average, and an 8.74 save percentage. Not great. To the San Jose Sharks in exchange for Mackenzie Blackwood, who has 19 game played, 6 wins, 1 shutout, 3 goals against average, and a 9.11 save percentage. Keep in mind the Sharks are really bad. The Sharks also received forward Nikolai Kovalenko, a 5'10 right wing, 25-year-old for a 6th round pick in 2018. A conditional 5th round pick in the 2025 NHL draft and a 2nd round pick in the 2026 NHL draft. And then the Avalanche also got forward Giovanni Smith, who, by the way, makes day in the life TikToks of an NHL player. I
that
discovered
true?
that. Pretty cool little thing.
Cool.
Has nothing to do with his play on the ice. He's a right wing, 6'2", 26. He was a 2nd round pick in 2016. The Avalanche also received a 5th round pick in the 2027 NHL draft. That was a mouthful to get through the whole trade. And this comes in off the heels of getting Wedgwood just at the end of November. The Avs haven't had the greatest start to the season. They're kind of bouncing back a little now, but before trading for Wedgwood, the Avs had an 8.82 save percentage at 5-on-5, which was 31st in the NHL. Your initial thoughts on this?
It's
trade?
interesting because I knew, and I've been harping on the Colorado Avalanche getting a goalie for the last 2 seasons. I thought it was imperative that after Darcy Kemper left in free agency that they acquired somebody that could help them repeat and get back to the playoffs and go deep in the playoffs. And they got Georgiev, and he's been rotten. And we've been saying year after year, they got to make a change. They got to make a change. They need change in goaltending, and they don't do it. Finally, they make a change. Is this the right one? Mackenzie Blackwood? Mackenzie Blackwood got ran out of New Jersey. Why? They weren't getting good goaltending, good enough to make it to the playoffs. So they went out and acquired Markstrom to try to get better than this guy. So I'm not so sure that's the move. I tell you what, I was pounding the John Gibson drum. I was pounding John Gibson drum out of Anaheim. I think he's short-term deal. You win right now with John Gibson. I thought that was the move. I was a little bit surprised with the Mackenzie Blackwood signing. Although he's getting a lot of people talking about him, he plays for a bad team. Like, he plays for the Sharks. They stink. So you're going to get more saves, more shots, and you're going to look like you're great there. If he can play average in Colorado, Colorado will be better. So we'll see. I think their goaltending now, at least they believe their goaltending is better, and belief is half of the battle. They believe it's better, so automatically now it's better. So I do think they're going to continue to take steps in the right direction in Colorado. So at least they did something to address a need.
Yeah, and Scott Wedgwood, I mean, he's been really good since he got there, by the way. Former Coyote.
And a shutout.
Yeah. So he's been great. So it seems like perhaps they turn around. I know that the DNVR crew is feeling confident. It was funny, everything Petey just said. Like, we have our All-City Slack, and Craig was in there saying, like, this isn't good enough. They can't win a cup with this. And he said he'll eat crow if it turns out not to be true.
The difference is, I say it here. He does it like right to their face. They're not. Rudo's not here today. He's not listening. So
watch Rudo spawn in our chat somehow.
Rudo's not there, so I feel okay saying it here. I do. Well, the Colorado's got a good hockey team. They've been plagued with injuries all season. Chuskin was still on suspension the first part of the year. Goaltending has been suffering. Now that they think they've corrected that, and Chuskin's back, some of the injured players are back. Less Landeskog again. Maybe now with this goaltending, they can make a run for it. Who knows? They're a first wildcard team in the Western Conference right now, and I believe they're going to start to climb in the standings. We'll see, but somebody's got to fall out.
Yeah, I mean, the Avs won a cup with like fine goaltending, you know, with Darcy Kemper, another former Yote. Former Yotes might be the answer for the Avs, and Scott Wedgwood is one, so they can check that box. But if they can at least just get like solid, consistent,
just average,
which I think with Blackwood and Wedgwood. By the way, the Woods. You also have Miles Wood on the team, so I saw there were a lot of jokes like it's the Forest, whatever you want to nickname that group. But you know, if they can just get that night in and night out, I think they have a chance. Yeah,
and I want to say one more thing when I talk about the Western Conference, because I know when we talk about keeping receipts, usually I try to hide the receipts because I'm usually wrong. But on this show a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was talking about the playoffs, and I said, watch Calgary Flames are going to drop out, and keep an eye on the St. Louis Blues. They're going to start climbing. What's happening? Exactly what I said. And so keep an eye on these standings, because I'm telling you, I think I'm going to nail it when it comes right down to it.
So do you think Colorado's going to climb back up?
It's hard because they're in a tougher division.
The
problem with the Central right now is the Central's been really good, and it's because of the Minnesota Wild. I think the Minnesota Wild are far overachieving this season. I don't think anybody expected the Minnesota Wild to be here. I thought it would be a reverse, but they continue to climb. And the Jets, again, much better than expected. So they're going to be fighting the Dallas Stars for that third spot in the Central. I like Dallas a lot. And we'll see. They have to overcome some injuries too. Sagan's out for the rest of the year. Pavelski's retired. So they've got some own hurdles. They need a defenseman there. But I still think that's the battle. Colorado and Dallas for third in the Central.
And for San Jose on the flip side, you know, they were part of that big trade. I don't even know when that was, over the summer, for the goalie prospect from the Predators. So, and for them, they're like heavily in their rebuild. There's really nothing for them to lose by trading Blackwood away. But
they're not a right now team. They're trying to make moves to free up some money ultimately and get better down the road. They're not ready. It's kind of the moves that you saw that were made here in Arizona years ago, where you'd pick up Shea Weber. It's kind of that. It doesn't. They're not in a position right now that it affects them, and so they'll take on a contract like Georgiev that Colorado wants to get out from underneath.
Yeah. Charles calls them the Colorado Lumberyard. That's wow. It's a good one. Although Craig would have something to say about the singular name, I think.
I don't know what to say.
All right. Well, we're going to also talk a little bit more about, was there anything else on this trade you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't know if it's good enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's shocking enough. But the two names that have been talked about forever were Gibson and Blackwood. And Blackwood is younger. There's no question he can be a longer-term solution here in Colorado. But I don't know if Colorado has the horses to be in a long-term situation. I think Colorado's got to win it now. Now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep dreaming the John Gibson scenario because I want somebody to get John Gibson. I want him to play for another team besides the Anaheim Ducks. Well, his whole career was been in Anaheim. Nobody got to see him play on the West Coast. Poor John Gibson. He's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
He was Connor Hellebuck before Connor Hellebuck was Connor Hellebuck.
Huh.
That was John Gibson.
All right. Well, we'll remember this moment too when John Gibson gets traded somewhere that gets a lot of media attention and goes off.
Yes. Let's do it.
We're going to talk more about the
trade.
Ducks in a moment because we're going to talk a little bit more about the Jacob Trouba trade. And now that we have had time to process that one instead of it happening while we were recording a podcast. And then we're also, of course, going to talk about Luke Richardson getting fired, Phoenix and Tempe, ASU, Tucson. All of that is coming up on PHNX Hockey. There's a lot of events going on here in Arizona. This isn't like somewhere in a cold climate where it's cold and there's nothing to do. There's always something to do here in Phoenix. And we got the Fiesta Bowl coming up. And I know ASU's not in the Fiesta Bowl, but it's still a major playoff game. Like, it's a college football playoff game, and you should absolutely check it out. It's a great thing to do to end 2024, ring in the new year at the Fiesta Bowl. You can join us for the first ever college football playoff quarterfinal at the VRBO Fiesta Bowl. There's also going to be a pregame Fan Fest block party, a fiesta. There's a lot going on. And the game, of course, is between Boise State and SMU. Or the winner of SMU and Penn State. Maybe I just made my prediction.
Petey, if it's Boise State, Penn State, who do you got?
Boise State.
All right.
What about you?
I think I just...
So you think SMU?
No, I still think Boise State will win that game no matter what. But that's just my guess. But either way, it should be a really good game. So you can buy your tickets, reserve parking, and premium experiences at fiestabowl.org/tickets. And Viva Fiesta. And, you know, I've been talking about this, especially this holiday season. I just got a new cell phone. And
you did?
I did it at Verizon.
Did you?
Because we have been part of the Verizon family like since my mom and I moved to Arizona.
That's awesome.
Huge fan of Verizon. They really take care of us. They're super, like, if you've been loyal to them, they're super loyal to you. They'll go out of their way to make things easier for you. I also think Verizon has just the best coverage in the US.
I didn't get Verizon until after high school, and the entire time all of my friends had Verizon and I didn't, and I felt so underprivileged.
Seriously, like, every time I'm with people who don't have it, they don't have service. Verizon is amazing. And if you switch now, you can get a $200 gift card only at Verizon. $200 Verizon e-gift card is sent within 8 weeks and requires a device payment purchase, minimum retail price of $799.99, and port in with new smartphone line on postpaid Unlimited Plus or Unlimited Ultimate plan required. All right, back to the NHL talk. Let's talk about the Jacob Trouba trade. This came through, like I said, you can go back and listen to our Friday podcast episode where at first we were talking about all the Rangers drama, and then about halfway through the episode, Jacob Trouba got traded to the Anaheim Ducks for defenseman Urho.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Some guy you'll never hear from again.
I struggled with this on the pod too. He's 25. He was a first round pick by the Bruins in 2018. And the Rangers also received a 4th round pick in the 2025 NHL draft. And at first we were like, oh my God, this is crazy, the return. And then you start kind of getting to the nitty gritty. And the biggest thing here is that the Rangers didn't retain any Trouba salary. And the thing that came later in the day, which added further context, was then the Rangers signed their goalie to an extension.
It's Igor Shesterkin. They signed the biggest contract ever given to a goalie in the history of the National Hockey League on the same day that they get rid of Trouba's $8 million, saying at the same time that one had nothing to do with the other, because Shesterkin's doesn't start till later. And I get that. And ultimately, this is a deal about getting Trouba's money off the books. They bring in Urho Vakanainen.
That's
so
really
Urho
right.
Vakanainen not going to play. He's going to be a 6th guy. They got Mancini in that spot now, who they like better. They like this young Mancini kid that I think is going to be part of the future of the Rangers. Here's the deal with the Trouba trade. Chris Drury has made an absolute mess of the New York Rangers. And he had the ear of the owner, Dolan, and that's how he got the job. in New York, and he's been very tight with the ownership group and bends his ear, and he has made an absolute mess of this franchise. When you go in and threaten your captain, who is extremely well liked in the room and in the city, that you're going to put him through waivers if he doesn't accept and waive his no trade, and then you go to the other stars of your team and go, okay, you guys are next. You know what? Guys don't want to work real hard for you. So how did the Rangers do? Oh, they just lost to Chicago. How did that work out? So everybody thinks it's the beginning, or now they're through the turmoil because they were able to clear this from their room. It's going to get worse in New York. Shesterkin is now happy. Oh, yeah, he also lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. So a team that I had picked to potentially win the Eastern Conference right now is in such disarray. The only way I personally see getting out of this without having to trade every single player, which you cannot do, sorry, it's time to make a change at the general manager position in New York. Not the coach, not Peter Laviolette.
But you said Peter Laviolette
I thought he would go first.
Ago.
I did, because he's another guy that only wins for his first couple years, and then his message wears thin. He's a grumpy guy, and guys don't play for him. But this team they're bypassing the coach. They're not even thinking about the coach. There is so much distrust and loyalty to their general manager, Chris Drury, right now that it's hard to come to work. Watch their best players perform in New York right now. Watch Mika Zibanejad go up and down the ice and tell me that's a guy that's digging in. Because it's hard to dig in when your boss doesn't like you and wants to get rid of you. What if you came in here tomorrow and the boss, Espel, comes in and goes, you know what, Leah, we really don't like you.
You said this on the podcast.
We don't like you. We don't like you. We don't like your work here. You know, I'd really wish we could get you to Chicago, but guess what? They don't want you either. So I guess you'll just be here tomorrow for work. How are you going to work the next day? Like, are you out of your mind? That's not how you motivate people. So I think that this New York Rangers situation is an absolute mess. Can they get out of it before the playoffs? They've got money to play with now. They got $5 million on their cap right now because of the Trouba move that they can play with to try to attract a new player in and make a big blockbuster trade. It just might be too late. So we'll see. I think there is much more trouble brewing in New York than just this trade.
Okay, on the flip side, Anaheim. It's an interesting move for them because, like, I don't know, what do they have to gain from this?
Yeah, so when you make a move like this, it's what the extra stuff is that you're looking to acquire that extra asset, right? So right now, there's nothing. Like, you would expect them to get some kind of a draft pick back if we're going to take all of Trouba's salary and we're going to retain this player and take his $8 million off the books, we're sure as hell not going to win in the next year and a half while he is on our books and part of this franchise. So unless he's part of another move down the road, or there's something we don't know about that's happening behind the scenes where they're acquiring something else from the New York Rangers, to me, I look at this and go, what did they accomplish here? And when you look at what GM Bill Armstrong did here over time in acquiring these bad contracts, he acquired a bad contract, then he'd acquire another asset. I don't see that other asset. And I guess I need someone to explain to me what the advantage was here, what the asset coming back, or why Anaheim really needs Jacob Trouba in their lineup. Like, that's going to be the push in this next year. But they're teetering on last again.
The one thing I do think he could add is, like, veteran leadership and presence with their young guys.
For sure he can. But you're going to spend $8 million on that right now?
Yeah. Well, is this another situation where you're a team that's near the bottom and you're taking on money and contracts to hit the salary floor, like what the Coyotes used to
and maybe that's part of it too, but I would like to have seen them get an asset for retaining that whole salary of Trouba. I would like to see them get something in return, even if it's a third or a fourth round pick. Get something in return. But I keep hearing on all different shows, national shows and podcasts, oh, they've got Gudas and Trouba right now. Oh my gosh, wouldn't run. They're in Anaheim. They're going to Manhattan Beach after the game. Do you think they're coming at you like a brick wall? Buddy, they're last. They're not coming. You want to see the Trouba train? I think it left the station, because I don't think that's going to happen in Anaheim. I really don't. And I like Jacob Trouba. I thought he brought something to the New York Rangers. I just don't know if he's going to bring that same kind of juice and energy right now to the Anaheim Ducks for a team that he can look up and go, okay, we're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's going to play. He's a good player.
Yeah.
I don't think he's giving up on his team. But don't take that message out of this. But I'm just saying, I don't think you're going to see that same physical mentality that you've seen from him in New York. I don't think you're going to see that in Anaheim. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the idiot. We'll see.
That's another wait and see one. But that one was just really interesting across the board. And I don't think New York is done.
No, they are not done by any means at all. And both New York teams. The Buffalo Sabres and
Oh
the
my
New York,
gosh.
they play each other tonight.
Wow.
The Rangers and the Buffalo Sabres, both teams that need to fire their general manager today, are playing against each other.
Wow.
Kevin Adams, former Arizona Coyote Kevin Adams. I'm sorry, Kevin. I know you watch our show religiously. I like you. You're a really nice guy. But let's face it, this Buffalo Sabres team is nowhere better off than where you found it. It is an absolute mess in Buffalo. They're going to have to make changes there again, and I think it starts with Kevin Adams.
Sorry, Sean DePaz. All right.
Well, he'd gladly, but I'm telling you right now, Sean DePaz would be all in. Sean DePaz would drive up to Buffalo and give Kevin Adams a ride to the airport. Telling you, every night they're chanting "Fire Kevin" at the thing, the games.
All right. Well, speaking of teams going through rebuilds, the Chicago Blackhawks made a change. Coach Luke Richardson was fired last Thursday. In his 3 seasons with the Blackhawks, he has a 57, 118, and 15 record. The Blackhawks ranked 31st in the league in goals per game with 2.42. Lost 4 games in a row and were 3-9-1 in their last 13 right when Richardson was let go. Anders Sorensen, who's the coach of the American Hockey League in Rockford. He was named the interim coach. He's 49, the first Sweden-born coach in NHL history. Fun little fact there. And then since he took over, the Blackhawks lost 4-2 to Winnipeg on Saturday and won 2-1 versus the Rangers on Monday. You were actually on the CHGO Blackhawks show like an hour before all that happened. You said a change needed to be made. What are your thoughts on this? And then I want to talk a little bit more about like the leash for a coach on a rebuilding team, but let's start specifically with Richardson.
Quick with this one. I felt bad for Luke Richardson because they're a rebuilding team that's not going to be very good, and he had a bad team to deal with. I thought Davidson had given him some players bad contracts. I thought Bertuzzi's a bad contract. I thought TJ Brody was a bad contract, that he had slowed down and he was not the player he was a year ago in Toronto. So I think he had bad players. So I think that's part of it. However, this is a team that was starting to get used to losing. And when you start seeing Connor Bedard being frustrated, and Connor Bedard in the last 2 games under Luke Richardson, he was a -5 with no points. You cannot have Connor Bedard unhappy and getting in a position where he's frustrated and losing all the time. Even if you make him happy and you lose games, but they're close, I think you can still get by. Everything has to be done in Chicago, but has to surround Connor Bedard. Has to. Mm-hmm. I think they need to make a change to make him happy. I really, really do. And I tell you what, the Winnipeg Jets in the first game, you can't adjust a lot of system play by then. And
Winnipeg is a really good team.
So they had a practice. They played the New York Rangers, and they're different. It's funny, and I'm going to be on the CHGO show later this afternoon talking about all those differences. So if you really want to get into Chicago, jump over to that show today at 2 Arizona time, because they're different. They played different. Their systems changed, and it showed. And they played aggressive. Caused them a little bit of trouble at times, but they played much more aggressive. I think it's a good move by Chicago. I am surprised that a team that's rebuilding fired their coach. I'm just surprised. And now you're hearing about the same thing in Detroit. That Detroit is getting ready to fire Lalonde. That might be next. It's the year of the firing the coach early, man.
Yeah, and you pulled up a interesting stat about coaches getting fired in season. So
it just didn't happen before.
In 2017-18, no coaches were fired during
17-18. And guess what? There's teams that still got last that
year.
You
almost can't even believe that now.
Yep, 17-18. That's not that far removed.
In 2022, 2023, 1. Bruce Boudreau in Vancouver, and in 2020, 2021, 3. And now we're at 2, and it's December 11th.
Yeah. And there's more coming. I'm telling you, there's more coming. And it's just surprising to me how the attitude of firing coaches has changed so much over the last decade. When teams would hold on to the coach, one, because they didn't want to have to pay duplicate salaries, that there was really a tentative, hey, we pay this guy $800,000 to $1 million. We can't have that on our books. And I think that mentality has changed because of the money in this league right now. So you're willing to get past that. Plus, now we're at a stage where the players have to have their buddy as the coach. Oh, you're okay.
Well,
Everything's
that was like what happened with McDavid, kind of.
100% was happening with McDavid. Bring in Knobloch, who was his junior coach, that he's his friend. They like each other. And, we're going to pat you on the back. You're okay. Everybody gets their trophy. That's the kind of coaches you need right now. And you have to have that balance of you've got to be able to communicate, get along with players, and have the X's and O's knowledge to win. And that is really hard. That's really hard to have that balance. You can't have the coaches you had 10 years ago that you can yell and scream and get away with it. You can't. That kind of coaching doesn't work anymore. So I do think that's part of the reason you see where coaches are like, that's Dave Haxtell. The rumor was that the players went and said, we need to make a change. They're driven by the players now. When in the past, it was driven from the top down, ownership and management. Now it's driven from the bottom up, from the players up.
A guy and his dog said Chicago needed to fire the GM, not coach.
I don't disagree with that. I think there's some really bad contracts there in Chicago. I don't think they surrounded themselves. Well, there's only one veteran player there in Nick Foligno that I think is a great veteran player that's helping people go the right direction. I think they have a lot of bad contracts there. Taylor Hall has been playing well the last few games, but Taylor Hall, Bertuzzi, Brody, I think there's some names there.
A bad Taylor Hall contract somewhere?
Yeah. Athanassiou, there's so many of those names that has created a mess there. And unfortunately, Davidson is part of the problem for sure.
Well, and it's interesting because you talk about the staff of a rebuilding team, the GM and the coach. And we talked about that a ton here when the Coyotes were here with Bill Armstrong and Andre Tourigny and, Luke Richardson. It's not like the Blackhawks are expected to make the playoffs or even be good this year per se. But I'm just wondering, whoa, let me just double hear myself. From your perspective, I don't know, why did Luke Richardson go versus someone like Andre Tourigny where, Utah's still out of the playoff picture. It's year 3 of the rebuild. What do you think is the difference? Same with the San Jose Sharks. You have, Mike Greer there in the GM position, and someone in the chat earlier, I think a guy and his dogs again said Greer GM of the year, asset management, the prospect pool, et cetera. So what are the
It's attitude, and we talked about that too. It's about the attitude of accepting losing and the team becoming losers. And Chicago started to play like that. Their desire to play a game, their desire to compete, their effort was no longer there. And when their effort is no longer there, you have to hold someone accountable. And I think when you talk about Andre Tourigny in Arizona and now in Utah, I think you saw the effort from the players. I think there were close games with that team. I think you saw progression. I think you saw the team getting better. I think you saw the younger players doing good things. In San Jose, those guys are having fun playing hockey right now. They understand that they're not competitive with other teams on paper, but you still see a team that competes. And you still see a team that's trying to be in games later as the game progresses. And I think that is a huge difference with how you deliver the message as a coach to a building team. If you're still enjoying going to the rink and you're still competing and putting out that effort, then I think you're going to let that coach slide. And I think you need to have that relationship between the general manager and the coach that understand that you have a singular mission to get better over time. And I think Chicago, once you lose the players and they stop having that effort and they stop trying and they stop looking like they care about what they're doing, and you see the shoulders dropped and their hands dropped, it's time to make a change. And I said it was either going to be a big trade or you're going to fire the coach. And gone to the Dogs said, you talk about it, the general manager. Well, the general manager gets a gimme on a rebuild. He's not going to fire himself right off the bat. This is his last gimme for coaches. He's fired his coach now. Now the camera's going to be pointed at him.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're going to see coming up next in Chicago. But not this year. They're not supposed to win. It's not a playoff team. They still stink. Sorry.
Yeah.
But they're not good enough to compete right now. They're young players. Some of their best young players, like Frank Nazar and Kevin Korchinski, they're in the minors, where they should be. They're still 2 to 3 years away in Chicago, and then you can look at making a change at the general manager position.
Who's next to get fired, you think, Lalonde?
I thought it was going to, honestly, I thought it was going to be Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh. I kept waiting for that, and then they start winning again.
Know.
So now it looks like Detroit and Lalonde has got it. He is on the hottest seat right now. I think with the resurgence of Utah, and they've got points in 6 of the last 7, I think Andre Tourigny is absolutely safe. I don't think there's any concern there. Again, Pittsburgh's going to have to make the playoffs. I still think Mike Sullivan is second on that list. And the other guy to keep an eye on a team that's struggling, is in Anaheim. I don't think Greg Cronin is well liked. And I think that was a bad hire.
Which is interesting because he was hired on a rebuilding team as well.
Yeah, but he's a guy that is more old school.
Yeah.
We talked about that old school tough guy attitude.
And that's a young room, too.
And that's a young room that plays Instagram hockey.
Oh, yeah, the whole Instagram hockey thing.
So
Watch What Chaos for more on that.
Yeah, so I don't think Greg Cronin survives the summer. He might make it the rest of this season, but Greg Cronin will be gone before the end of next year.
I like how Petey always, like somebody needs to just mark down all these time codes.
CWP is good. He's got a pen nearby. I guarantee he does. CWP market. Greg Cronin will not be coaching in October.
All right, there you have it.
In Anaheim.
Well, we're going to talk next about land, because this is the PHNX Land Development Podcast, as it has come to be known.
Yes.
And we'll talk about ASU and Tucson, more the Arizona stuff coming up on PHNX Hockey. Well, I told everybody about some things to do in Arizona this time of year, and I have another suggestion. And this one, it's another football game in the Valley, and this is the Rate Bowl.
Legalize Rutgers money line.
Yeah, this is December 26th at 3:30 p.m. Kansas State Wildcats versus the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. First of all, great game. Second of all, it's the day after Christmas. It's kind of that thing like, what do we do? We're off work.
Yeah, you're not working.
My family's all here. What do we do? Go to a football game. Go to the Rate Bowl. This sounds like a great game. And it's played at Chase Field, which is really cool.
Ooh.
So you get to see a football game in a baseball stadium. I think that is going to be a really cool and unique experience. So, I highly, highly recommend checking it out. If I was in town, I would absolutely be looking at tickets. But you can get game tickets, premium experiences, and reserve parking. They're all available. You can get yours now at ratebowl.com. And PD, I spent a lot of time last week at Gila River
You did.
Resorts
More-
and Casinos
yeah.
at Wild Horse
You were there
Pass.
all day with
We
all
had
the
a
events.
blast at
Great time.
our Big 12 Championship watch party. I'm a huge fan of Gila River Resorts and Casinos. They host us, for a lot of our events, but it's just a great atmosphere. The casino, the restaurants, the sports book, the entertainment that you always talk about. You can stay at the rooms there if you're thinking, like, what do I get a gift for someone who has everything? Get them an experience. Get them a package to stay, to play.
Yes.
At any of the Gila locations all around the Valley.
I love that. Get them a vacation without having them leave town.
Or get them a show.
Go this weekend. It's Smokey Robinson and the Smokey Robinson, not Smokey Robinson Experience, the Smokey Robinson, followed up the next night by the ABBA Christmas Experience.
I'm all in on that.
If that's not a fun weekend at Gila River Resort, and then sit at the pool during the day.
You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Let's talk land and government.
You know what?
You
Are we
thought
ever
we were
going to stop?
done?
No.
You thought we were done? All right. So here's the sitch. If you recall, and I think a lot of us blocked this out. So when Alex Morello and the Arizona Coyotes were, proposed to build an arena and entertainment district on land in Tempe, Priest and Rio Salado area, there was obviously there were a lot of opponents. We saw that.
Yep.
The proposal was not passed by the public, but before that, there was some public issues by the city of Phoenix against.
They didn't like it.
They did not like it.
Nope. Let's sue people.
It had a lot to do with the airport,
Yep.
noise, building
Can't have
heights,
buildings. Nope.
all
Too
these
noisy.
things, right? And it was kind of a point of contention between the two cities with this. And, we've checked in on the dump since. Still a dump.
Still a dump.
Still a dump. Well,
Maybe not much longer.
All of a sudden, Phoenix and Tempe are working together on a deal that could bring apartments to that very same land the Coyotes once sought. So both Phoenix and Tempe city councils have unanimously approved measures that clear a path for apartments to be built on that 46-acre piece of land, the exact land that the Coyotes Arena and Entertainment District would have been on. Both cities approved an amendment to intergovernmental agreement, how about this for some entertainment, between the two cities regarding noise mitigations and flight procedures. So they solved that problem. Just remember what happened. Both cities were at odds over the Coyotes' proposed development. Phoenix had claimed building apartments on the site was in violation of a 1994 agreement between the two cities. Phoenix filed a lawsuit in 2023 asking a judge to stop the development. Well, now, let's put an agreement in place to build some apartments. Noise, we'll figure it out.
So it's all fine?
Flights, we'll figure it out.
Fine.
And the agreement specifies that it allows for new residential units. They can't be single family residences. They can only be apartments that can be rented. There's also some other things that they have to be installed with the noise protection thing.
Yes.
But the bottom line is that the cities figured it out and stuff's getting built.
Surprisingly, though, because does it have anything to do with Phoenix not wanting to be a competing entertainment and sports facility? Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, ultimately that's what this comes down to is they didn't want him to build an arena there that would compete with Desert Diamond Arena. Wait, is that not Desert Diamond? That's
Chase Field?
Chase Field. No, the
Oh,
Footprint. They don't want to
Footprint.
compete with Footprint. I'm sorry, there's too many of them here. We have too many. Sorry, but that's ultimately this comes down to. They didn't want to compete with a city-owned facility that has concerts and sporting events. They did not want to have one competing 5 miles down the road, and that's the problem. Never had anything to do with apartments, but that was the loophole that allowed them to sue the city of Tempe because of the apartments, and now that's because there's no longer an arena, no longer a big deal. And I will say, Gavin Doe says y'all ain't getting a team, dude.
You don't know that, Gavin.
It's nearly the holidays. Give us some of that Christmas joy and spirit. And I will take Gavin. I want you to do this. I want you to come right back on this show in 2029. Mark it right now. Mark it on your calendar. Save your date, July of 2029. And I want you to say the same thing back to me. And if you were right in July of 2029 that they are not moving forward with a new franchise, then I will give you your flowers, and you nailed it. But for now, I think there will be a hockey team back in the desert, 2029, 30 or 2030, 31. Mark it, Gavin. Put it in the calendar.
Well, Paul said, where was Tempe first on all of this? Nowhere to be found. They clearly only existed because they were anti-Coyotes. Well, their whole thing was like the anti-billionaire thing, and successfully derailed the Tempe Entertainment District proposal. It is just interesting. And once again, it comes back to this common denominator thing. And I do agree with you. I do think that there was some interest for Phoenix to not have a competing arena, just honestly not too far from the down. It's about a 15-minute drive. It's really not too far. But it is just interesting that it feels like every time Alex Morella leaves the space, there's peace and flowers to be had in that space that was left.
Everybody's able to shake hands, communicate, and do better. I agree.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and let's hope that continues in that path.
And you might.
Did you buy his house, by the way? Did that sell yet?
Oh, the $29 million
that sold yet?
house? I'm not sure. I haven't looked.
Ugly house.
Oh, we're clubbers. We're clubbers till we die. He nailed it. He said he wants Arizona to get a team. Can you imagine the rivalry between
with
Utah and a new Arizona team? Heck yes. That would be, and they're nearby proximity, like it's close. There's cheap flights, direct flights, back and forth. We're clubbers till we die. I am all in for that rivalry. I think it would be great. And it's funny because when Arizona would go back to Winnipeg, which was a very similar vibe, they would boo Shane Doan every time he touched the puck. So that would be us here in Arizona when they come here, that every time Logan Cooley or Dylan Gunther touch the puck, they boo, which is really unfair because that really has nothing to do with them. But I do think that rivalry would be fantastic. It would be great.
It would be so good.
Let's hope so. Fingers are crossed because I think it'd be really fun to have a really good hockey rivalry.
Yeah, it is funny too. Like how I said I've been reflecting on the team leaving in 2024, and like here we are sitting in the exact same chairs we were sitting in when the vote wasn't passed. I know that was in 2023, but that was really the beginning of the end. And it just it
was a very sad day.
Very sad day.
The vote. Every time we talk about Tempe and land, we get a little verklempt. It's really sad.
A little tear in my eye, because it really would have been the perfect spot. And now, like, at least every week in our Discord, literally today, they were talking about potential arena locations. So who knows? I mean, we're going to be talking about this.
It's going to happen.
Years.
You just wait. Just wait. People think it's just never going to happen. Just wait.
Things are moving.
Things are. Things
it's
happen.
It's going to be a while, but things are moving.
But things are happening.
So
I still said 29 or 30. That's it.
Everybody be patient.
I'm staying firm at 29 or 30.
Everybody be patient.
Be patient.
Well, before we move on, we'll round out the show by talking about ASU hockey. We'll do a quick check-in on the Roadrunners while we're talking about Morello because he still owns them. Follow that story too. The Tucson Roadrunners, they dropped both games over the weekend to the Calgary Wranglers. Lost 4-2 on Friday, 6-3 on Saturday. They are 10-10, a perfect 500 record, 7th place in the Pacific. Up next, they play this weekend, Friday and Saturday, versus Henderson. Henderson is in last place in the Pacific, so hopefully home games against a team that's last. They need to win these two. And this is coming off of Tucson having some good wins over the last couple weeks. I mean, Calgary is, I think, like the leaders of the Pacific Division. And they were in Calgary. But again, every time we talk about Tucson, they're about 500 or just above or just below. It's kind of just been an average season.
Yeah, it's funny though because it's like that in the American League, and you look at injuries. Connor Ingram gets hurt. Jackson Stauber, who was having a very good year down in Tucson, now he's at the big club. You lose Mav Lamb, who's a guy that should have been playing in Tucson, in my opinion, the entire season. Now he's hurt, now another spot has to get taken up because he's not there. So injuries are definitely playing a part of this, as it does every season in the American League. But the good news for this team right now, even though they've had a few losses, they're right there. Like, they just need to have a really good weekend, and you're talking about an opportunity to do that this weekend against Henderson. You get 2 wins there, and you're propelling yourself right back into the hunt. And I think they just need to make the playoffs. This is a team that just needs to get in, and I do think they have a team that's strong enough and good enough to do that. But they're going to have to try to get healthy, and they're going to have to try to put together a few wins and get a little bit more consistent.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll follow along with the Roadrunners. A guy and his dog, this is back to the Coyotes, said, I miss the howl when they score, even though I'm a San Jose Sharks fan.
Oh, that's a fun place. The Shark Tank, I tell you what, used to be different days when they were winning. And that was a franchise that year after year after year, you could count on them with, Big Joe and Little Joe making the playoffs. That was a fun team. Nabokov, back in the golden days of the San Jose Sharks. And I know San Jose fans hope that's coming back soon. So I hope for a guy and his dogs that rivalry resumes too, that there's an Arizona-San Jose Shark rivalry soon. And Huck Penn, no, there is no public discussion about expansion.
Huck Penn asked, has there been any word out of the Board of Governors meeting about expansion in general, or they're still not active in talks, or whatever the league says to town play the talks? So this is from The Athletic this week. There's no formal expansion discussions on the official agenda, but to the extent there may be questions from governors about it, the expectation is that the league would reiterate what it has said for the past year or so, that there have been expressions of interest from a number of markets, but that there is no current plan to expand. That will change one day. It would be a shock if the league doesn't expand again. One of the reasons it makes sense to delay the next shoe dropping on it is, from a practical point of view, the need to focus first on a CBA extension. Not that the league necessarily sees those two things firmly linked. They're not in the league's eyes, but in terms of the league's focus, it would want to get CBA extension done first. And as somebody in our Discord actually pointed out, the longer they take to get the ball rolling, actually the better it is for Arizona, because it gives
them time.
People here who are pursuing that time to figure out an arena situation, figure out a land situation, to be in a position like Atlanta is, where you're going to actually be like, hey, we're ready.
We're ready. We got a building. Let's go.
And I'm okay. And that perspective actually helped me a little bit, because I thought, oh, you know what? Like, we kind of want them to keep downplaying it, because I think at this point, we all know the NHL is going to expand. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Who is it going to be? That's the bigger question. And can Arizona get in on it? That's something that we're going to have to wait and see. But the longer it takes, the more opportunity for an ownership group.
Just say, like, I know we've joked about it and talked about it since the team left last summer, that we've talked about it. But this is just, when you talked about it in terms of the Board of Governors, and you just put a little glimmer of hope there, and you go, can you really imagine they announced an expansion team coming back to Arizona? Can you imagine the excitement, not just here on this show, but in the hockey community here in Arizona, when it's real, and you go, oh, there's this great owner, and Shane Doan's involved, and this is going to be amazing, and what a new building they're building. You know how fun this is going to be? This community at PHNX and the hockey community here has been unbelievable. And can you imagine how quickly they would rally back together and pull behind anything that is like this? I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm ready
and waiting.
Please do it soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, we will round out our talk by talking about the Valley's hockey team at the moment. Of course,
and Rogue Wave, they're coming.
Arizona State Sun Devils.
They're expanding. Rogue Wave said, are they really expanding? Sorry.
Yes, they are. But we will talk about ASU after the break on PHNX Hockey. Talk about experiences, giving a gift of an experience. Well, you can give that gift by getting tickets over at Game Time, the best place to buy tickets, whether it's to a concert, a sporting event. Petey and I have both used Game Time ourselves. It is extremely user-friendly. You're getting the best possible deal. And I think, again, like, give somebody the gift of an experience, especially those bowl games I mentioned earlier. You can buy those tickets on Game Time. Absolutely check it out. There, you can on the app, you can see what your view of the field or the stage would be. I think that's a really great feature. Sometimes you have no idea. Game Time they just do it best, and you can buy last minute tickets for the best prices. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Petey?
It's game time.
It's game time. And you know, it's crazy. We are coming to the end of the year. 2024 has almost come to an end. And we've been talking a lot about reflection on this show. And, you know, you reflect on your personal goals, your work goals. And especially if you're a business or you're in a position, a management position, and you're looking back at your business goals. Sometimes you think, did I achieve this? What could I have done better to achieve this? And sometimes it's hard to track goals as well. That's where Constant Contact comes in. They have what it helps to help you meet your goals faster. No matter how experienced you are with digital marketing, Constant Contact has the tools to make your marketing run smoother. It's time to put the go in your 2024 business goals with email, social, SMS, and customized marketing campaigns built for you in just a few clicks. Ready, set, go to constantcontact.com/allcity and start your free trial today. Go to constantcontact.com/allcity for your free trial. All right, Petey, ASU hockey. The vibes at ASU as a whole continue to be incredible. Obviously, football winning the Big 12 championship, but on that same weekend, and shouldn't be overlooked, is ASU hockey, who swept Minnesota Duluth over the weekend with a 5-3 win on Friday, a 3-2 overtime win on Saturday. ASU was ranked number 19 again. Luke Pavicic was named the NCHC goalie of the week with a 2-0 record, 68 saves, and a .932 save percentage. Petey, you were at the Saturday game. What are your takeaways?
I tell you what, this ASU hockey team is for real. And I know they talked about it a lot in the preseason, but guess what? Everybody says in the preseason they're going to be good. I was impressed with this team. They're finally getting healthy, and I keep saying it. Cruz Lucius, it's coming. They get the guy that they get in the transfer portal from Wisconsin still has yet to play a game. But Luke Pavicic has made a big difference for this team. Outstanding goaltending. Held them in this one. Friday night, I saw parts of that game as well. They were faster. They were better. They were offensively on top of that. They were the better team than Duluth on Friday. But on Saturday, they struggled. They looked slow. They turned the puck over. It wasn't the ASU team that you saw or want to see, but they were able to find a way to win. And I think what Greg Powers learned about his team then is even though they didn't have all the pieces going or fitting in that night, they were still able to get a win against a good Duluth team. I tell you what, there's excitement in that building. Mullet was a blast. There were so many fun things in that third period. There was a goalie interference call that we thought was going one way, went the other way. Then there was a player that laid on a puck on 5-on-4. And usually the referee blows the whistle. They didn't blow the whistle. And I don't mean like for 2 or 3 seconds. I think it was 10 or 15 seconds. And the ASU Sun Devils, every one of them to a man, was spearing this guy in the back. It was vicious violence. And you're going, oh, something's got to happen. Puts them on a 5-on-3. That was exciting. Then they scored to win the game in regulation, but the ref said I was going to blow the whistle. The crowd was fantastic. Like they understood the assignment. It was a great vibe on campus. Unbelievable. Kyle Smolin wins it in overtime. It was a great play. If you haven't been in Mullet for an ASU game, it is electric. It is so much fun, and Coyotes games were great. This is different.
Well, college has a different vibe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The 942.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of fun going to those games. So ASU, I believe it. They're for real. They're off this weekend for the holidays. Then they have a non-conference. They play the National Development Team program.
I have to say it. The USNTDP.
Yeah,
and those games are the 28th and 29th.
And then they have the holiday tournament after that.
Yep. The Desert Hockey Classic. They play Robert Morris, and then they play either UMass or Cornell after that. And then they resume NCHC play on January 10th against
the University of North Dakota.
But I will say the fact that
Tempe.
that's 1 month away. Time for Cruz Lucius potentially.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that is again, the University of North Dakota is one of the premier programs in the NCHC. This is where they stand. where are we nationally? Like, where are we? They beat Denver twice. Denver lost now to Western Michigan, and they're starting to fall in the standings. Now North Dakota is the team that they have next that you've got your eyes on. It's going to be a fantastic series. Can't wait to see the series on January 10th and 11th.
But yeah, the vibes are high with ASU. Charles said it, getting 14 out of 15 points in their last 5 games before the holiday break was a massive lifeline for the Sun Devils. It's so true. They kind of stumbled out of the gate, plagued by injury, are on the road a ton, and it just feels like as the vibes at ASU, as I said, have been high, it's been affecting the hockey team as well. It seems to be they're in a really good spot right now.
They're second in the NCHC right now.
That's insane.
I mean, they've got a couple games in hand. But they're
it's a good spot.
Exactly.
And you mentioned it's still without one of their best players. So looking ahead to the second half of the year after the new year, it's an exciting time to be a Sun Devils fan. It's an exciting time to go watch their games. They're going to be home a lot more next year. So make sure you check out Mullet Arena. You can get those tickets on Game Time as well, by the way. But get out to some games. I know some of our diehards are season ticket holders, and everybody keep your eyes peeled to go phnx.com because there might be another takeover on the horizon. I'm just saying.
Make sure you tell me about it.
I will. I promise.
Did you know, can I know we were talking about ASU, but can I say something else about Tucson?
You may.
Well, we always try to follow along what's going on down in Tucson. Go down to Tucson when you can. And I know that Friday night is a theme night that's really near and dear to your heart.
No, it's not.
It's Swifty night.
No. Yeah,
Swifty night
it's not
in
happening
Henderson.
for me.
I know that you'll be right there dressing up like Taylor Swift and listening to all her songs and all the whistles and breaks. And then on Saturday at their 7 p.m. game is Teddy Bear Toss.
Okay, that's fun.
Teddy Bear Toss is
How
fun.
is the Teddy Bear
Teddy Bear
Toss?
Toss.
Yeah.
Fun at ASU. Haven't really been to a Teddy Bear Toss live, and it was fun at ASU. They got a lot of teddy bears for a really good cause. So if you get the opportunity to what a weekend. Taylor Swift Swifty night followed by Teddy Bear Toss night. That I'd still know oven mitt night. Like that is we still don't have our oven mitts. So if anybody's got a connection down to Tucson, please get us oven mitts.
Oh man. But if you can't make it down to Tucson, I implore everybody to join us this Saturday for our pickleball tournament. It's going to be a blast, by the way. Shane and I are teaming up.
Didn't you get hurt last time though?
My knee is a little bit of a liability.
Wear a brace.
Yeah, I should.
No, you go to your local drugstore and get it, even if it's just a joke. Get a brace.
Nope, she just has to stretch.
No,
she's got to learn.
But wear a brace. It's fun. Wear a brace. It's fun, and then you can pretend you're hurt.
Yeah, then I'll get lots of
1,000% be that person wearing a knee brace.
Well,
for pickleball.
I'll be at the pickleball tournament on Saturday wearing a knee brace. And if you face me and Shane, who knows? Maybe you can eke out a win. But the most important thing about this weekend is that all proceeds benefit Operation Santa Claus. We also are trying to fill the back of a Sanderson Ford truck with tons of donations. They're looking for canned food, brand new toys, and brand new children's clothing as well. So if you can bring some donations, but also the money that you spend to participate in the tournament, all of those proceeds go to Operation Santa Claus as well. So come take on me and Shane. We have a bunch of PHNX people who are going to be there. It's a great way to get outside and get active on a Saturday morning, a couple weeks before the holidays. And it's all for a good cause. So we hope to see everybody there at Chicken and Pickle. Again, that's this Saturday, 8:30 to 1. Too. Yeah, amazing. It's so fun. The food's
and the bar
amazing.
Opens early too.
It does. So we hope to see everybody out there.
Yep, it'll be fun.
And for those, I know there's some people out of state. That's why I love having our Discord. It's so great to connect. Become a diehard. Join our Discord. Join our diehard community of other hockey fans who sit in waiting for an NHL team to return. But in the meantime, obviously, we're supporting the Sun Devils, the Roadrunners, supporting Arizona Hockey in any way that we possibly can. I know that for Alpha, they have their Pride Night this weekend, Saturday, out I think in Mesa, but go support them. There's just so many ways that you can support hockey in Arizona, whether it's youth hockey, college, AHL, men's league. You were showing off some
get
of
ready
your
for
sons.
some high school hockey stuff coming soon,
and high school hockey is coming down the pike as well. So just anyway, that's the vibes we should leave everyone with, because I know we're
good,
like,
happy
oh
hockey
no,
vibes in Arizona.
We lost the team, but there's still hockey here. The community's strong. Become a diehard. Get access to the written content as well. Get discounts on merchandise and events.
And Paul, karma is a cat.
Oh, okay. Petey, any final thoughts? Before we
No,
wrap?
I got nothing. I am glad we ended the show on a high note talking
too.
about hockey in
Me
the state of
too.
Arizona because I came in a little grumpy
Yeah, I
and
feel
now I'm
like
going out happy.
I feel like we cleared that.
Yeah, you've got me. I'm back into the holiday mood. Ho, ho, ho. Let's go.
Well, everybody, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review and write us a little note if you will. But you can just easily hit that 5-star button, and that's great and much appreciated. You can follow us on Twitter at SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Shane Deef, at PHNX_hockey, and make sure you subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we will talk to you all soon.
We all silly like the mayor.